So I saw the Flash movie 2 times in theaters. Not exactly by choice, I just promised 2 different parties I would see it with them. But when watching the movie more than once, I couldn't help but feel a lot of mixed emotions, I should say. Now, before we get too far in the video, I want to warn this video is going to contain a lot of spoilers for the entire movie. So if you haven't seen it now, you're probably not going to watch it at this point, but you've been warned nonetheless. Starting off, I want to say some things that I felt worked well in this movie and some things that I felt could have been improved. So I'm going to start off with the good. I felt that Batman not completely taking over the movie was a good thing. Now, I feel like Keaton's Batman played such a big role in this film because Warner Brothers felt that Flash might not be able to have a big pull on his own. However, regardless of the reasoning, I didn't feel like Batman overstayed his welcome, and it didn't feel like a Batman movie. Now, I don't have a lot of nostalgia for Keaton's Batman, but I felt like he was a good inclusion, and I thought it was entertaining and fine. Now, the next thing I liked about the movie was how Ezra played both old, I guess, and young Barry. Now, I know this is going to be crazy to say, but towards the end of the movie, I kind of forgot they were being played by the same person, and I think Ezra did a good job of managing both different personalities. Now, there's a change I would make to this if they're going to stick with this, but I'll get into that later. The last thing about this movie I felt worked well was the fight with Supergirl and General Zod. For me, this worked for a couple of reasons, but the most important one for me was that it didn't feel like her fight with Zod undercut the one in Man of Steel. I was a little worried by the way that she was introduced and the way she was written, that she might have just instant win Zod, and that felt like it would have undermined what Man of Steel did with them. So I actually liked how it went about her fight and Zod. I know right now that doesn't really make sense, but I'll explain it a little bit more later. With that, that's pretty much all the praise this movie is going to get from me, if I'm being honest. And next up is the bad, and boy, there's a few glaring problems. First off is the CGI. It's garbage. I know everybody knows this, but if I'm going to talk about the bad, I have to put it in here. But my first real complaint is some of these suit designs. I mean, the 2 that really stood out to me still are Ben Affleck's Batsuit and the Flash's suit. I mean, Affleck's suit was straight up hideous. I don't know who approved of these weird patterns going on in the center, and overall, it just looks bad. I don't know who signed off on this, but they need to be fired, respectfully. Up next is the Flash's suit, and it's a little bit more subtle with its issue, in my opinion, but it's still kind of glaring. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the base design and the colors, and while it isn't my favorite, I feel like it works as a suit. But the proportions in some of these scenes look really weird, and it took me out of the movie. It's really hard to describe, but the best way I can explain it is Ezra's neck kind of looking like it's pinched together and the rest of his body looking fake. Now, I'm not sure if it's the CGI or just the way the suit is designed, but it's odd either way. It just feels like his proportions are all off. Now, my next major gripe is the way they handled Supergirl. Now, I like Supergirl, and I feel like she's handled pretty well in other forms of media, but in here, I think she suffers what I'm going to call the Captain Marvel effect. Now, in my opinion, the studio wanted to depict her as a super strong and powerful being, which is fine, but that's where all the development and thought ended. I mean, she has the personality of a cardboard box and is mostly relegated to just looking mad and bunching stuff. I feel like they could have given her more depth, but this is what we're left with. Now, the end of this movie is a mess, just to say it simply. I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is garbage. I mean, visuals alone, it looks like a video game cutscene of just cameos, and they're just meant to make you go ooh and ah and nothing more. And with the other, like, multiverse movies we have, I know this isn't technically a multiverse movie, whatever. These bringing in cameos of people is really starting to get old, at least for me personally. It's even extra gross how they included actors who are dead, but I'll let you deal with the morals of that. This evil Barry is just there, I guess, and is beat in a very underwhelming way, and that's pretty much it. I don't really understand why they bothered to include him. I guess he's supposed to kind of like parallel Savitar, at least how the CW show did it, but here he's just kind of, I mean, he pops up in one scene, we forget about him, and then he pops up again at the end of the movie, and then just withers away. I'm going to level with you guys. On a personal level, I do not care for this movie, so I'll give it a 6 out of 10, because I am sick of it. Oh yeah, Iris was here, I guess. I forgot to include her because I kind of forgot she was even in the movie. But yeah, she's in like 2 scenes, and she's just kind of there, I guess. I don't really understand her inclusion, but yeah. Now, it isn't the worst DC movie, but it's by far from the best. I'm going to end off this video with some changes that I would have made. First off, don't make it a Flashpoint movie. I know they made it a Flashpoint movie because the story is popular, and that way they could have included some crazy cameos. But if they wanted to make a Flash movie, they could have just made a normal Flash movie that isn't just rehashed. I would have liked to see a unique Flash story and actual Flash villains used for the Flash movie, but that's just me. I guess that's a hot take. However, if we are going to go the Flashpoint route and they're going to bring Keaton in, he should have played Thomas Wayne. It would have made more sense for his age, and he would have been included more other than nostalgia bait, and I feel like he could have done a good job. Change would just be, instead of using young Barry, just make it Wally West. I mean, clearly younger Barry has the personality of Wally West. I think they should have just went all in. As a matter of fact, they should have just had Wally be the one to cause the timeline to reset at the end of the movie where George Clooney comes in, because it would make more sense. I mean, we spend this entire movie learning how Barry shouldn't have messed with the timeline, and at the end he just does it again, and we don't learn anything? I mean, he should know better than that, and that makes no sense. You know, as I'm recording this, why didn't Barry just fix the timeline again rather than telling Aquaman? This movie has so many plot holes, and it just sucks. I have to be honest with you. At this point, for the future of DC, the only DC movie I'm really looking forward to is Batman 2 and whatever James Gunn is doing, because these rest of these movies, I'm going to be honest, look kind of bland and boring. And not to mention, I still haven't seen Shazam 2, and I don't plan to. Sorry guys, I know the end of this video kind of went off the rails here. I just don't care about this movie. It makes me a little angry, and honestly, I'm done thinking about it. Thanks for watching.